there, YouTube. Back again on the rat rod build. Finally got past the hang up I was having with my rear shocks, and I think I've come up with a solution. It's created a couple more issues, but I'm gonna show you what I've got done so far first. Alright, so I got an idea off of a comment on the YouTube channel. Sorry, I don't remember who, but I appreciate it. And the cantilever setup I thought would be inherently difficult, and it was. So this is what I've got. I'm using the stock July 2 shocks. Just using bolts, rod ends, and some pieces of rod threaded that I had. I don't even know what to use that short of a rod length, but yeah. These plates here, let me show you from the side. Alright, so this is where the hang up I was having was. Trying to find something to hinge to actually be the pivot piece on the cantilever setup. I was doing some stuff like these, which were the right shape, but it's a little too bulky. I even tried some of these shackle hangers and stuff. Ultimately, I just went with a flat piece. Started out here as a 1/14 semi-truck U-bolt plate. Goes on the bottom of the axle. And I just cut into a triangle and bolted everything to it. I had to play. I've been working on this for about 2 days now. I'm sorry for not having a whole lot of videos coming out, because this is taking up all my time. I'll get out here and stare at it for a couple hours, and then I'll go to bed. The next day I'll think about it all day, come back out here and stare at it, tinker with some stuff. So this is all from scratch. It's all in my head. I don't have plans. I'm just playing it by ear. So it's taking the process a lot longer to complete. But let's see what else. Yeah, that's really about it. I tied in down here. Bring you around. I tied into my lower shock mounts to the bolts that we set up earlier to mount the lower rods. So here's our lower rod, and I put a longer bolt through there. Like I said before, that's not very strong, but like you can see, this does not have much flex whatsoever, so it's really not gonna twist it and bend it. If this was on a crawler, I would at least find me some threaded rod that connect between the halves to help reinforce and square everything out. But that brings me to my new problem. Because of the angles on here, it does put everything in a bind. Not in a bind so much, but it puts a lot of pressure on the frame rails. So let me show you what's happening. Alright, so these being at an angle, it's causing the rails back here to wobble from side to side. So I'm getting a lot of chassis flex, which really, honestly, is not going to affect anything, but I want to square it up. So the next step right now is I'm going to figure out how to cross brace these rails. I did have this in the back, but it needed to be brazed in, so I think I'm going to go a different route. And so yeah, that's what we're going to work on right now. See what I can figure out. Alright guys, that took a lot longer than I expected. I spent nearly an hour trying to fab up these two braces. You can see in the background here, I just trimmed down a rod. It's not perfectly straight. Again, this rat rod, who cares? It's straight enough. Add some strength above the axle. And then back here on the rear, if I can get you focused, I used a piece of semi-truck frame. I had a bunch laying around, and mounted to the very rear, 2 bolts each side, which of course aren't perfectly straight, just to add some rigidity to it. See, it's really soft, I mean really firm, but really smooth. That's what I'm trying to say. It's getting late. I did have to adjust my track rod a little bit, which I may have to adjust more. I'll have to do some measuring and see. I ran out of adjustments on it. I've got the shortest rod ends. It's a 65.5 mil rod. So I put it on the grinder, trimmed the edges down a couple mil and the ends of it. That helped some, but it's still maybe off just a hair. We'll have to wait. We can adjust that later once we get the body on and get tires on, and we can see if we're off or not. So I think I'm going to go ahead and throw some tires and wheels on this so we can get an idea of how it's going to sit. Alright guys, so it's a kind of sitting like a highboy roadster. It's not really what I was going after. I went ahead and flipped the bead locks around. This is the 1.9 stamped steel with those Gladiator tires I had on the Cruiser. Flipped them around. Still need half an inch. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to get a wider axle, and I'm having the same issue in the front. It's just way too narrow. But yeah, let me go ahead and strip all this body off, show you what I've done on the rear. So here it is in all its glory, all its over-engineered glory. Everything's running smooth. Now I've got the frame strengthened up here. It's very, very stiff. I'll probably crank the coilovers back down a little bit. You see we've got good side to side. Not a whole lot of up travel. Needs a lot of weight on it, which I don't know. It feels super firm, so I'm gonna have to do some more thinking about the shock situation. May end up, depending on how it comes out in the end, I'll have to soften the shocks up some. Because ideally, the lower the better. I still want to have a little bit. That's all the way down right now, sitting on the axle. So we only have about half an inch of travel, which is more than enough, but yeah, it's not as low as I was hoping. Those frame rails were perfect, everything fits perfect, and I love what I've done, but it needs more. It needs more drop in the back. I was hoping to do like a full, rat rod thing laying on the ground, but it's not looking like it's going to come out quite like that now, so yep, just gotta go where the build takes us. So I'm going to go ahead in this video and look at where I'm going to put the transmission and see what else we can knock out while we're here. Alright guys, so this is roughly where the transmission's going to have to be. Mocked it up here with the motor. I still don't know if I'm going to be able to put this motor in front of the R4. I don't know. It's going to take a lot of hacking. Stuff doesn't line up quite right. Yeah, not sure yet. Getting it tucked down in there, it's a bit of work. I'll probably knock the transmission out. But the way it's sitting right now, my radiator is going to set just past the end of the frame rails, which is another thing I'm not happy about. So there may be some work on that later to extend the rails out, because it's kind of traditional. The hot rods, you have the frame horns that stick out past the grill where the bumpers used to mount. And yeah, this all just kind of came out a little shorter than expected. So, not sure yet. Might re-engineer the whole thing. But I'm going to wrap this one up here. This transmission thing is going to be a bit of a work. As you can see, I'm probably going to have to make a cross member. Luckily, there's some holes right here. I'm going to make another cross member and go from there. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching and following along. Appreciate all the feedback. Please like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned for more to come. I'll see you in the next video.